All right, let's see if this is actually working. Do a quick audio test here. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, let's see if this is actually working. Do a quick. That'll be a yes. All right, now I can mute all this stuff on my computer. Cool. I love that you can hear every creak of my chair, but hey, that's just what it is right now. Let me test out the chat too. Test 1 and test 2. Strange it doesn't show how many people are streaming from. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Looks like I got this template actually sort of working from last week's debacle. So, what are we going to do today? My plan for today is that I've been using Superbase for databases for my Lovable apps, but it's getting very expensive as I come up with new apps or prototypes, and it's just too much to keep creating a new Superbase database every time. So what I've been doing for the past week, sort of behind the scenes, is I've been working on my own self-hosted version of Coder, so that I have my own dev environment with Docker containers and all that jazz. And my plan is to see if I can open up one of these Docker containers in a way that I can get Lovable to connect to it and build out a database. So where do we want to start? Let's open up Arc in this other window, and I'll start getting everything, I'll get everything sort of moved around. Sorry, still working on trying to get this, still working on trying to get my flow for the streaming stuff going. Where is windowed projector? Oh, I see. All right, I need second display, window projector. All right, this way I can now see my second display on my main display. And what are we going to do here? So let's go through and let's open up Lovable. And I'm going to make a new project. And while we do this too, I want to go to code, weekend code project. I'll put in my cool, I can't even remember my username or password this morning. What's going on here? All right, let me look at 1Password and figure this out. So I'm hoping that I can just come up with like a SQL database. I was having some issues getting Superbase working on my local Docker container versus Docker, and it's a big sort of pain in the ass. All right, Jesse, can I no longer log into my thing? Whoops. I don't want that. I want this. There we go. I had a typo in my own name. It's already going to be one of those mornings, I can see. All right, so I have been building out a new node template, and I think I already had an SQL test. Let me delete this real quick. And we're going to ask the ChatGPT gods if they can help me walk through setting up an SQLite database, and then we're going to connect it to SQL DB for Lovable test. Sure, why not? Actually, we should make this SQL test. I wonder if I had a project folder. I can't remember what I had that other one named as. Was it test? Well, we'll just make this test and see what happens. What winds up happening is that sometimes when this is on like the same, if I use the same project name again, when I delete a project from Coder, it doesn't delete any of the files, because I have the files mapped to my local NAS drive, so I have some sort of persistency, and I can also automatically back things up in the background. So let's create this workspace and see what happens. Worst case scenario is that it's going to have a whole bunch of files in it, and I could just reset the whole workspace. I'm waiting for a code server to activate. Now I have code server up and running. And all right, it looks like it created a whole new workspace. So what I want to do is, I don't want to install any of these recommended things. I'm just going to open up ChatGPT in a separate window so we can see what's going on. And we are going to ask it, here, actually I can just move, well, you know what, let's see if we can do a little split screen here. How do I want to make a new, I can't remember if I have ChatGPT. I don't think I've logged in here. No, I'm not, I don't have it logged in on this. All right, that's fine. I'll just do it. I'll just move it over here and make this a little smaller and put this here. Cool. All right, so how are we going to prompt ChatGPT? So basically what I want to figure out is how can I set up a self-hosted SQL database on my self-hosted Coder instance. I am using Cloudflare for the tunnel, and what are we using else? And Traffic for routing the subdomain to the container name. Name which exposes port 8080. My goal is to set up the database in a way that Lovable or other external web apps, external web apps can connect to. The URL for this project is, how do I want to start this up? Let me see, where is the ports? We have 8080 exposed, and all we need to do is swap this around. So let's do this. Coder SQL test.weekendcodeproject.com. All right, so I have made this private, so at least I know that my authorization stuff is working. Let's go back into, we need to make a new coder, code.weekend. And this is the SQL test. So this is what I finally, oh my God, after a week of struggling with this, I finally got this to where I can now make something public or private, and I have some more security around the server. So I'm actually looking forward to it. I've created my own sort of test development environment on my own Mac Mini. I have an M4 Mini. And my goal with this really was just to get it to where I can control my own dev environment, but what I don't want to have to do is set it up on multiple computers all the time. So I usually switch between like a laptop or a desktop, and I've been building out AI computers to go into my office that I'll be working from too. So I want to make sure that at any point I could just sort of remotely log into a dev environment and have everything I need there. So let's go here and see if this works now. As you can see, we have hello world. So now this is working and we have this. So let's reload this window. So the URL for this project is going to be it will be the name of the Docker container and weekend code project. And then what I want to do is, I want you to help me modify this Express server script to allow external connections to the database. And let's do this. Here's my server. I'm going to paste this in here, and let's see what ChatGPT decides to tell me. So I am in like realms where this is not my normal thing. I don't do back-end stuff. I've been learning now all about, oh my God, all these different things, from Docker to tunneling to ports and all this other stuff that usually I had back-end developers do for me. So since I am now a one-man shop, I have to figure out how to do all this stuff, but I'm trying to use ChatGPT to sort of help me get through it, and boy, is it awful at this. I think tomorrow what's going to wind up happening is that there's a plugin. I've been looking at all these different plugins that allow you to run your own self-hosted LLMs for coding, and also I wanted to look into Claude. So I think tomorrow we'll set up that. But today it's critical at this point. Like, I'm really behind in what I've been wanting to build. I need to be able to get this database up and running. So let's see here. So it reasoned with itself and didn't tell me anything about what it's doing. You elaborate on what is going on here. Most of the time I don't even correct my spelling mistakes. So I have it set up where I told it to like only give me answers for what I am doing, but this could use a little bit more explanation. I get this. Database creates an API endpoint on a GET request path that returns a simple SQL query. Listens externally. Listens to port 80, binds to 0 so the internal app can connect. All right, so since I want this external, what do I modify here? All right, so while it's reasoning, one of the apps I've been working on, and I really want to get back into it, but I've sort of paused the development for a minute, is I want to get, I've been working on this thing for how to teach kids how to do prompting, and it's basically using sort of the Scratch building blocks. So I'm hoping once I get this up and running, I can move all my development over to a local database and do local testing so that I don't have to worry about the cost that I'm incurring right now in Superbase. So change the host value to your public domain or IP that routes your SQL server to ensure the SQL set up external connections in your database user remote. So I don't know why it didn't do this for me, but let's just confirm. So for host, I should use it's being like really sparse today, where it really doesn't want to give me any additional information. No, just use the domain without the HTTPS or trailing slash. So perfect. All right. So we're just going to call this admin. We're going to do this as password, and we're going to do this as test database. All right, so what I need to do now, what npm packages do I now need to install? I have a feeling, I think I just need to, well, I guess it gave me a MySQL database, so that's fine, whatever. Honestly, whatever database at this point works is all I really care about. All right, so let's do npm install. I already have Express working, MySQL 2. And let's do this node. I wonder how I stop. How do I stop a Express server running in the background? So I have my template. I have my Terraform template automatically when it boots up like a node development environment. It creates a little basic server to give you that hello world, and I want to make sure that I can now shut it down because it's running in the background. PID here. Let's have it find it for me. What should I do with this? Sometimes I like to just play dumb with ChatGPT. I mean, it plays back really well because it's stupid most of the time. But at this point, I really am just trying to get this to where I can. It's actually some of the stuff that ChatGPT does really well is when you have like huge like log files like this, and you don't want to go through and figure out what is in here. You can always pass it to ChatGPT and have it tell you what is in there or what it's looking for. So let's kill this process. And then now node server JS, and it's still giving me, cannot find module express, npm install. I guess I needed to install express. All right, so now we're listening to port 8080. I'm gonna open this real quick. I have a feeling this isn't gonna do anything, because it's an endpoint, right? Like if I come here and I refresh, database query failed. All right. All right, I see it's loading. It's going to give me a database query failed. Okay. So now, all right, so when I go to, I see this error. Let's tell it our database here are my credentials. How can I test that this works? All right, you can test the connection using MySQL CLI. Run. I don't have, do I have, wait, let's, MySQL, whoops, QL. I don't have my dev container just through node. Excuse me. So I can't run that. User wants to test. Okay, I'm reading out its reasoning. So, node test connection JS. Okay, I see. I don't know if I want to. Wait. I don't. Hold on. Is there a way to do this with curl? I want to test an actual API call. Yes, you can use curl, for example. All right, let's try that. Let's see, did this work? Now check the response body to see the JSON. If it still returns error. All right. Well, I don't need to do any response. Example endpoint that queries the database. Wait. Okay. So now, what should I tell Lovable in order for it to connect to this database for a test project? All right, while this gets started, this is my, the project I was sort of talking about earlier, my thing for teaching kids how to prompt, but we're going to come back to this one later. I want to go to my dashboard. Tell Lovable to use these MySQL credentials: host, port. It will need to use the endpoint we expose at 8080. All right. I want to create a simple app that allows me to test connecting to a self-hosted database. The endpoint for the database, for the MySQL SQL database is can you give me a simple form app that lets me add, edit, and remove notes using the database. All right, we're not going for anything fancy here. We just wanted to create a basic sort of just note app. I mean, this is one level above Hello World is a note-taking app. All right, let's start with building out our note-taking app. All right, this is going to do all the stuff for me. And what I'm really curious about now is, will Lovable be smart enough to connect to this endpoint? And then how much work is it going to take for back and forth? Because if I can actually get this to work, what I'll do is I'll take my Node Terraform template, I'll abstract it out, and then I'll turn it into a way that I can always just spin up a new database whenever I need to. Everything will be configurable through the coder's Terraform variables. And then whenever I want to create a new project, I can just spin that up and go with it. So it's building a whole bunch of junk. If this works, I'll be so happy. I've really been struggling with this for over a week now. I think it's taken me almost a month and a half, 2 months, I think, to just get my development environment running correctly. Though at least the way that I want, because I have to do everything complicated. A normal person would have just created a VM or would have just used some sort of online service. But I'm kind of more interested in how all these things work behind the scenes. I am fascinated by these tools, especially like Lovable, that is able to use AI to build out stuff. But I also want to be able to control my own development environment. And honestly, I'm just tired of paying subscriptions for all these different like things. So if I can cut down on some of the costs while I do development, that would be great. I don't mind paying for Superbase when I go live with it, but for right now, I just want to make sure that I can just do something local. All right, connect to my database. Port, root name. I don't want to use the port. It's not localhost. I think this is port 8080. Wait, actually, let's see what ChatGPT suggests. So I'm just going to take a little screenshot here. And, all right, how should I fill this out? I'm always like a little confused with like the port stuff and what's the host and what's the whatever. So if I can just get this, let's see. Okay, so actually, let me ask a question. I am not exposing port 3306. Whoops, port 3306. So will this work, or should it be port 8080 where the endpoint is? All right, so we're going to fill in, this is the host. I think I just had admin, password, super secure. Notes, use port 8080, endpoint is 80 is what's expected in Lovable app. All right, so 8080, connect. Connection failed to fetch. All right, Lovable gave me an error. Whoops, I don't want to copy. I want to inspect the console. Not a lot of room here, huh? Where is the console? From database blocked by... I think this was the problem. All right. I think it's a cross-domain issue. How can I fix this? So I knew out the gate that there was no way that I was going to be able to just remotely connect to the database. So I need to just figure out now how to get around this. To fix the cores, npm install cores, install the core package and enable it. Wait, am I installing this on Lovable or my SQL container? Install it on the Express server, your SQL container, not on Lovable. Great. So let's go back to our workspace and clear this. npm install cores. Then add this to your Express server. Well, I hate when it tells me. I guess I can just put it up here. We'll make a new constant for this, and we'll make app cores like this. All right. What else do I need to do now? So the required cores, right? Add use cores, restart your server, and verify that the response includes. All right, so let's do this. We'll stop this, clear it, and we'll rerun it again. So now we're running this fine. Let's go back and let's just see if this will work. Where was the, so let's put in this host. I'm going to clear out the console. 80. I believe this was password. Clear, and let's connect. All right. Wait, why am I getting a post error here? All right, so let's copy this over. I am now getting this error on the Lovable preview. I feel at least a little bit like this is going to be solvable. Add a post route for test, for example. Wait, I don't understand. I don't understand where to put that. I used to do database stuff like a long time ago when I had to do more PHP, and I can never wrap my head around it. I'm more of a visual developer, so all this backend stuff is just a bit of a grind. Add the post route into your Express server. Sure. So we'll copy all this. We'll paste it. And this exposes a post endpoint that. All right, so let's do this. Let's cancel this, clear, and rerun it. What should I tell Lovable now? Tell Lovable to send a post request to. No payload is needed. The endpoint will return JSON with a message and database if the connection is correct. All right. So let's see if Lovable. Can you do a quick test in this app to. All right. I mean, this is probably, in my mind, like the best use of AI coding is to have it deal with all this like glue stuff for setting up the database and connecting to it and the permission issues and the cross-domain bullshit and like all that stuff. Let's see what it comes back with. I've added a simple test condition that makes a GET request to the endpoint. The test displays a button on the main screen that will make a request without any payload and show the results. Failed to execute JSON response. All right, so I did this and got this in return. I wonder, I had a weird idea. I wonder if I could have it run its own little VPN. Probably won't work. Lovable is sending a post request. Your Express server is post isn't intercepting or miswriting the request. Check your server logs to confirm the route hit. How? add a log inside your post route, for example. All right. And how do I watch the logs for this? All right, Docker logs, I see. Should I look at traffic container? All right, let's rerun this now. Yes, check traffic container logs to see if the request is forwarding correctly and verify your routing condition. Could I also see this in the dashboard? All right, once I get a confirmation of like where the best place to really test this is, then we'll go through and start seeing where the connections are actually going. Yes, if you can see in the dashboard, that means traffic is receiving the request. Now check your Express logs to confirm. How do I test the Express logs? All right, I've done this. Now for here, container name. All right, so let's do this. SSH. Well, actually, let me see if I can open up real quick a new tab. Mini NAS 8081 / dashboard. All right. Let's see on the routes. Host, prefix, node test, SQL test, weekend code project. Let's just copy all this. I'm looking in the traffic dashboard under the what am I under? Under the HTTP routers for the coder Jesse Freeman / SQL / or dash test weekend project.com and see this. It looks like this is going through correctly. So all right, add a console log to your Express route like test connect, then trigger that request and run Express container name. I am using Node, so can't I just run the logs from that instead of Docker, which won't work? Yes, run the server and watch the console output in your terminal. All right, so now let's go back to Lovable. I am not seeing any output in the logs. Let me try just hitting it directly and see if that gives me output in the console. Do I need a special command for that? I feel like I'm supposed to tail this or something so that I can see the output. I don't think it's just going to put everything into the console like this, but maybe I'm wrong. Just run your server in the foreground. Add a console.log at the top. Okay. Test. Yeah, that's not working for some reason. Why isn't this working? Server's listening on port 8080. Let's go here. Okay, so when I go to, I get this error. Shouldn't that return something? I was like so hopeful for a second there. I really thought that we were gonna like just be able to like knock this out real quick, have a database up and running, and then I could just move on with my life. That's because you defined it as a post route. Try sending a post request. Oh, thank you, buddy. Now you want to give me the correct thing. All right. So I got this back. Endpoint hit. But wait. Hold on. Let me re-edit this again. But the page, the curl request returns this. I think it's something that's wrong with this database request, or maybe like the table hasn't been set up or something. I'm sure it's like one of these like simple things. All right, come on. That error means your Express server can't reach MySQL server that at that public domain. Since you're not exposing 3306, change the MySQL host in your connection settings to the internal on your Docker network alias. Sure. How about this? Can you update this for me and show me the full code? All right. So, yeah, this is the area where I always get, this is where I get like really confused with in Docker and networking stuff in general, especially for this backend stuff. I like never know like which port or IP address or any of that stuff, like whichever there's the right one, what's internal, what's external, the networking, like it's all just the big black box to me. So wait, tell reason for, what did it change? All right, let's do this. Let's clear and rerun the server. Then clear this and wait. Hold on a second. I updated the server. JS and run this. Shouldn't it work? Because I still get an error. I guess what I should have done, I should have actually tested this. I should have gotten this all tested first to make sure it all worked locally, and then gone and then connected up Lovable. But that's fine. We'll just keep working through it here. And the error means that Express can't reach MySQL if MySQL runs in another container or on your host. Update the host values accordingly. Use the container name or host.docker.internal. All right, this is what I don't get. All right, I don't know how to fix these issues. Here is what I know. I am running Node in a Docker container with this template. All right, so let's go and give it the template. Template. Where's my Node workspace template? I want source code edit with this template. And in my workspace, I have a Node project with this in the server JS file. The site is set to public. So what do I need to do? Yeah, what do I need to do? I'm trying to figure out this little problem now. So I'm hoping maybe a little bit more time into this, we can get this this connected. So yeah, I really wonder what the best way to do this is. So generate MySQL in the Node in the Node container using. You need to run MySQL container or use an external MySQL service. Update the connection host accordingly. For example, if you run wait, hold on a second. Why can't I run the SQL and server JS on the same or in the same Docker container? Oh, fun. Have I mentioned already how much I hate dealing with databases? Well, it's technically possible. It's not recommended. Docker best practice encourage one process per container for easier scaling, management, and isolation. Humor me. I want to run this in a single self-contained workspace, and the server is simply there to expose an endpoint for the database. I wonder if it understands the these expressions like humor me. Because it definitely doesn't come back with a joke, but sorry, because I'm using this mini version, it's just not. It isn't always the. It isn't always the most chat friendly. I also told it to be very explicit and only give me the shortest answers. So I'm sure that also has something to do with it too. Here's one way to do it. Your server stays the same, and you'll update your container startup command to install and run MySQL alongside Node. For example, create a startup script. Make sure that the start sh is executable. Your server remains. Oh wait, your server code remains the same. Now, your container will run both MySQL and Express Server, and Lovable can hit it. Well, I wonder why you didn't give me this information to begin with. That would have made it a lot easier. So let's do this. All right, I see what it wants to do here. So let me create a new file. We're going to call this start.sh. We're going to, well, we don't need to delete this. What we need to do is we just need to stop the server here. And now in start.sh, what it's doing is this is building a shell script that will go through and it's going to call the Linux command for update. It's going to install MySQL server. It's going to start the server, wait a little bit. It's going to set, I guess, all the information. And then it's going to set the server JS. Identified by password, grant all privileges on databases, fine. And then we need to update the server SH to now connect to this. And I guess this was the piece that I was missing. I guess I thought that Node for some reason would run the SQL database, but I guess SQL has to run inside of the container and then Node will just expose it. So I need to also make sure that I can run this command. And let's run start. All right, package has no installation candidate. What happened here? All right, your containers package repositories don't include the MySQL server package. You'll need to either add the MySQL apt repo or use an alternative. Like, what is easier? MariaDB is easier since it's available by default on Debian. Use it in your startup script instead of MySQL. Okay, show me the code. I am using a all right, whatever. Show me the code to update that. And anything else I need to do in my server.js script. Here's the update, startup script using my database. Okay, so let's update the start script. Did it even, wait, sorry, what? Wait, I'm confused. Here's an updated start script using, you're telling me to use, whoops. You're telling me to use, but in the startup, you are using am I missing something? Maybe it's just my own database ignorance here. This is designed to be a drop-in replacement on Debian, so the service will often still name SQL. Okay, great. So let's copy this. Let's paste this and save it. Let's update the server. Okay, and we can clear this and now do start.sh. Will this try to reinstall every time? Or will it skip installing if it's already in the container? So let's see, startup process trigger MySQL unrecognized service. All right, so let's see what this error is. If it is, it won't reinstall it again, so it's safe to run every time. So let's do this. Clear. Let's rerun the script now that it's gone through and installed everything, and it's going to give us this. Is this working? All right, come on. We can do this. I'm going to stream for another like 40-ish minutes. And then see if I can... I'll break for lunch and then figure out if I want to come back and deal with this later today. All right, services start. All right, the output shows is installed with the command service MySQL start isn't recognized because the service name is. Well, didn't I tell you that, you stupid thing? Oh my god, this is like where it really annoys the shit out of me. Is like it just doesn't. Even though I question like, hey, why are we still using the MySQL start? That doesn't make any sense to me. It's like no. You don't know what you're talking about. It's so confident. Or overly confident. I mean, honestly, this reminds me of every other junior developer I've ever had work for me. Like they feel like it feels like it knows the exact answer and it just will refuse to find a workaround to that solution. So let's rerun this again now. Starting the database server. All right, I think we're good to go. Okay, the database is working and the server is listening on 8080. How can I test this again? How can I test this again before connecting Lovable up? All right, so let's do this curl command. We'll create a new session. Oh, this is good. Looks like this is now working. Oops. Okay. All right, so great. Now you can tell Lovable to send a post request to this endpoint. Now I wonder if if it's still wired up, let's see. Spinning up a preview. All right, so we'll run this test connection again. It may not work. Yeah, connection failed. Okay. Can you update the test connection to hit and without the user name and password? I think it changed the password to root. Now I'm getting very lazy and I'm just letting ChatGPT think for me. Because by the time it's done reasoning, I can just look back over this stupid code. The credentials are used internally by your server to connect to the database. Lovable only needs to access the endpoint, not the MySQL username and password. All right. So I can test again. So if that's the case, then something is wrong. Let's update the endpoint in the database service file to ensure it's correctly hitting the API. I've updated this simple test connect. So, all right, we're going to do a little bit of mixing and matching here. Let's test that this connection actually works. It's giving us a 404 error. Okay, so on Lovable, I am getting a 404. The endpoint is and I am seeing the following in the command, in the console. Console. Let's see what the error was in the console. Clear, refresh, clear, and test the connection. Whoops. Hold on a second. Copy. What is going wrong? And the other, when I was saying I want to mix and match, what I want to take a look at is that Coder shows you sort of what it does when it changes stuff. So let's look at the raw file. And I'm going to say, what is wrong? Also, here is Lovable's database service TS file. All right. Now let's let ChatGPT fix Lovable, and then I'll have Lovable connect back to the stuff that ChatGPT generated, and we'll just have this snake-eating snake of AI connections. Your Lovable code is sending a GET request, but your server only handles POST. Update your express route to GET. Wait, hold on a second. Shouldn't it support POST and GET so I can read and write back to it? Yeah, this is, I guess what I'm trying to, I guess what I need to just figure out, or at least what I need to understand, because I don't understand this database connection stuff, is it, I guess I'm going to have to create endpoints on the Express server for the app. All right, but let's, if we can get this working, then I can go through and dig a little deeper into that. Server, where's my routes? Wait, hold on a second. How do I need to update this? Show me the full code. Hopefully, eventually, as I continue to do this a little bit more consistently, people who know what they're actually doing better than I do might join the stream and give me a little bit of direction here. I find that while using like ChatGPT or any of these AI tools is like really helpful, like it definitely gives me more confidence to go into things that I don't normally do. What I have noticed, the downside of it is that I don't know how to talk to it. And as far as I'm concerned, right now I'm just using ChatGPT as a search engine because I would just be searching all this stuff. And at least this way it's a little bit more tailored. But I find that it definitely sends me down dead ends a lot more. But it's also better than having to like sift through all the crap you'd find on Reddit. So yeah, I mean, there's no silver bullet right now, and I don't have time to learn years of database backend stuff. Okay, so with this code Lovable can now use get and post. Let's go back to Lovable and let's exit out of the code. Let's refresh and take a look to see if this is actually going to connect now. Woo! That is a good sign. Looks like it's connecting. Whoops, I cannot spell connecting. So now I want to have it talk to the database to read, edit, and read, edit, save, and delete notes. Can I let it use its own connection, or do I need to create new end points for each request on the node server? Let's send it back this screenshot. And let's see what it wants us to do. But this is good. At least I've gotten to a place where I can now correctly connect to my database, and I can see that there's some success. Let's see. You need to expose CRUD endpoints to your node server. Since 3306 isn't publicly exposed, Lovable can't directly connect. Instead, create routes like this. Lovable will call these routes, and your server will handle the database queries. I guess one thing is that is there a clean way that I can still expose port 3306 using my Cloudflare tunnel and Trafic? Right now, Trafic only handles routing to port 88. Here is the compose file I'm using. Let me see. I just got to log into my NAS for a second, which I'm just doing off screen, and I'm just pulling up the Docker Compose to see what it wants me to do here. Because if I can give it a direct connection instead of having to write all those endpoints, that would be awesome. I wonder if I could tell Lovable to create those endpoints. Actually, what it would be, I was, yes, but you'll need to set up traffic TCP routing. For example, add a TCP entry point that says MySQL in your traffic config, and then add labels to your container or a separate MySQL container like this. And in your Docker Compose for the container with maybe add labels such as, then configure your Cloudflare tunnel to route the subdomain, TCP entry point. Keep in mind exposing MySQL public can be risky, so ensure you secure it with firewall TS. Okay. All right. I don't want to mess with the routing and break port 8080. Also, if I just make my own endpoints in the node server, would that be more secure? Uh-oh. ChatGPT was doing its little thing where it decides that it doesn't know that it's done responding to the prompt and you can't send anything else. Yes, it's more secure. Create endpoints in your node server instead of exposing MySQL directly. All right, so what about making sure that anything that requests access to the endpoint can only do so if it's authenticated? How do I lock down the connection from Lovable to my self-hosted database? I wonder if there's a way that I can trick it into, instead of using port 8080, to use its regular port. Install Express Base Auth. Now only requests that include the correct basic auth credentials. Well, Lovable is creating the front end. Well, Lovable is creating the front end. So how would my SQL container know it's authenticated? Your node endpoints needs to verify authentication. In other words, Lovable must include valid credentials or token with every request, which your server then checks. For example, if you use basic auth, the Lovable frontend must send the auth headers. Once your server validates the credentials, it connects to the database. What if the user credentials is in the database? What starts that initial connection? Or can, whoops, oh wait, no, stop. I was rubbing my nose and somehow hit return. Or can I only, or can I expose a few public APIs for services I don't need behind the all right, let's see if we can do something where we can at least, I think that so I guess this is the the challenge. Is like I want to save money by not having to pay for super base databases every time I want to run something, but I also now need to now create all the endpoints. Node server always initiates the database connection using its own credentials. You can expose public endpoints or separate routes without auth for services that don't require user login. Then use authenticated endpoints to check user credentials stored in the database for. All right, that's not helping me. What if I map the port 8080 to the SQL port by default? Would that work with my current Cloudflare slash what's it called? Trafics. With the current Cloudflare Trafic setup I have. This would be the ideal solution right here, is if I can. Mapping port A directly to the SQL port won't work as expected because MySQL uses a different protocol than HTTP. Trafic Cloudflare are set up for HTTP routing by default. To expose MySQL directly, you need to configure TCP routing in Trafic and adjust your Cloudflare tunnel accordingly, which can be riskier. It's generally better to keep SQL behind your Node API. Okay, all right, fine. So I'll do that. What do I want to do? Okay, so fine, I'll do that. Could my Lovable app have a user/password to authenticate the connection, and this way I don't have to deal with any other auth on each API call? I'm trying to think of like how I would set this up normally, and generally what I would just do is I guess that my app would my front end would have the credentials for the database. Yes, you can expose an authentication endpoint so that Lovable sends a username and password once, and your server verifies these credentials against the database, then returns a token. Then the Lovable app includes that token with each subsequent request, letting your server skip rechecking the credentials and everything. This token-based approach streamlines auth while keeping your API secure. Is this more overhead? What would be the cleanest approach? I want the Lovable app to automatically connect to the DB and use the endpoints without having to add extra overhead, and the front end will validate user authentication. I don't know. I don't think this is the right approach. But we did make some progress at least. So this is the furthest I've made it so far. Cleanest approach is to use something like Trafic's built-in authentication or base auth with your Node server, so that Lovable can include a preset user/password automatically on every request. This way, the front end validates user authentication and your Node endpoints don't need to add extra token handling logic. Okay, so I am already using Trafic's auth, basic auth for making my workspaces private. Can I tap into that? I've seen this before when I was setting up the Trafic stuff, that like I can also pass a username and password. Yes, you can rely on Trafic's basic auth middleware. Once Trafic verifies the request, your node endpoints will only see authenticated traffic. So Lovable app can connect without additional auth overhead. So wait, let me go back now to here. Would I have to modify this template? Support that? Or since I make public workspaces not ask for auth? Well, if I can actually reuse this authentication layer that I created, that would be a huge win, and I wouldn't feel like I wasted a week of my life. All right, come on. You've reasoned long enough. Sometimes I think it just gets stuck doing this. It's like there's certain times of the day when I guess like the West Coast wakes up and starts using ChatGPT, and like even though I'm paying for a private workspace on OpenAI, it still just bogs itself down. That's next on my list. Is I got to get rid of this ChatGPT subscription. It's costing me a fortune, and it's so bad. Like it just gets like worse and worse with each of their model releases. Like, look, I don't understand why this is hanging like this. You didn't respond. Come on. I think you got it. You need to adjust your configuration so that your node container always routes through Trafic's basic auth middleware, even if your workspace is public. See, look at this error. This is garbage. This means that modifying the container's labels or logic that applies to them so that your node endpoints are protected. For example, instead of conditionally applying the auth middleware based on the make public flag, you'd force the middleware on the routes you want protected. That way, Lovable can include the necessary basic auth credentials seen in Trafic, and your endpoints will only be accessible when authenticated without extra. Okay, so cool. I can't do anything now. Okay, so what if I just make the workspace private? Can I pass the user name and hashed password? It would be really nice if I could just leave everything private behind the password protection. Yes, if you make the workspace private, Trafic will enforce basic auth. Lovable can pass the username and password via HTTP basic auth header in its API call. The hashed password is stored for validation on the Trafic side, but you'll send the plain text credentials which Trafic will compare against. Is this insecure? Is reasonably secure if implemented correctly. However, it is not robust as token-based methods for more sensitive scenarios. So the upside is that I will be password protecting the container, and Lovable will just use the username and hash that is generated for the container. All right, I think I know what needs to be done now. Error, server, traffic. I don't need any of this stuff anymore. Yeah, so containers breaking by choice basically off. Lovable would use the plain text username and password over HTTPS, which traffic then validates against. This is reasonably secure as long as you're using HTTPS and proper security practices. Sure, whatever. All right, so let's open up this test here, and then what we're going to do is settings, parameters, and I'm now going to make this private, submit, and restart. Okay, I made my workspace private. Should I tell Lovable to use these credentials? All right, so now what I need to do is I need to look in the, reload this window. Cool, this is going to run the, I got to figure out how to stop that port again. All right, what I want to do real quick is I want to serve. How about this? All right, what I need to do is I need to get this to make sure that it shuts down anything that's previously running. I'll deal with this in a second. What was I looking for? Right, I need to find open file. So in each of my containers now, I now have this traffic auth, and what I'm looking for is there's a hashed password SQL test. So let's copy this and close this out, which is what I would use to log in if I hit 8080. I actually want to make a modification to this template. Yes, you should pass the plain text credentials, not the hash. Traffic uses the hash internally to verify the plain text password you provide over HTTPS. How is sending a plain text password secure? Sending the password in plain text is secure as long as the connection uses HTTPS encrypted data during transit, so even though the password is fine. Okay, so let's do this. I want to go here, and I want to make one other edit, and we're going to run start.sh, I believe is what. Yeah, start sh. So let's see if this will actually start up, submit and restart. Let's see if this will start up the database and the script, or throw an error and put me back to the drawing board. Well, that's promising. It's going to have to refresh this. Yeah, reload this whole window. How can I quickly test in my workspace that MySQL is running? All right, let's test this out. Enter the password. I think it's default password. Access denied for admin local using password. Yes. What was the password? Oh wait, I think the password's different. The hold on, the it's not asking for the password. I think it was password. Perfect. Okay. Okay. So I had to enter my password, but it worked. All right, so now what I want to do is let's go back over to Lovable. Now what should I tell Lovable? Update for the test connection. So it now correctly passes the user and password that traffic needs. Right, because now if I test this connection, it should give me a connection failed because it's password protected. Tell Lovable to include the HTTP basic auth header with the plain text credentials. For example, it would be your plain text password. Copy. Can you now update the test connection with the following? Can you now update the test connection with the following? Auth header. And what I want to do is the plain text password is default password, I think. Right? Was that what I had in the container? Yeah, default password. All right, and let's submit this. I'll update the simple test connection method of the database service to include the authorization header with basic authentication. This should now work properly with the required authentication. Let me re-update this. Let me refactor this database service and then test this again. All right. But at least we got some success here. I think the real question is going to be, how do I now figure out a workflow where I have Lovable create the stuff that it needs to, but then I also am able to create the APIs. I've refactored the database service into smaller, more manageable pieces. Update imports use special. I'm just going to let it do its refactoring thing here. And yeah, I think what I'll do this afternoon is I'll just continue to play around with this a little bit more. What I'd like to do is come up with a sort of basic way that I can run commands back and forth for testing only, and then when I go live, what I could do is come up with a finalized thing for it. So let's see if this worked. All right, so we'll test the connection. It's saying the connection failed. Let's go to the console and see why. All right, we'll clear this. We'll come here. We'll refresh, clear again, and hit this. All right, so copy. Make the changes, but I'm still getting this error. Try updating your CORS configuration in the Express server. For example, like this. Okay, so let's go back to server. Where's the cores stuff? Cores. All right. Should the server JS look like this? Yes, it looks correct. Just ensure the original values match Lovable's actual domain. That is a good question because I don't know if the commands come from lovable.dev. We'll give it a try. I wonder where. Here's one thing. Where's the preview again? I'm curious to see where. All right, Lovable app, Lovable dev. I think it comes from lovable.app and or lovable.dev. All right, so I think this is the last thing is just to whitelist these two domains. All right. Okay, and my project will be in a subdomain, but the main domain is all we need, correct? View course compares the full origin, including subdomain. If your Lovable app is served from the checks. Okay, fine. Now, how can I update this start script to kill any previous services running on 8080 so I can cleanly restart by running the same script again. All right, I think this is the last piece, and I'm about to end this stream. I'll take a little break, and I'll be back tomorrow. My plan is to try to do the streaming at least every day from 9 to 12. So we'll see how that works. You can kill any process importing it before starting the service. All right, so let's do this. Paste, save, clear this, and now clear. So we want slash start sh. Yeah, I knew that was going to do a whole bunch of. I'm getting these errors. How can I fix them? Stop. All right. Well, I'm going to call it a day. Thanks everyone for watching, and I will be back tomorrow. Hopefully I can make some progress with this, and I will report back.